Welcome. I'm Michael Bickert. Thanks for joining me today as we explore concepts with the objective of improving your management skills and growing your business. At the beginning of every video, I like to remind you to pause the video so that you can grab a notepad and a pen and commit to yourself that you'll jot down something, some kind of action item that you will implement in your business today. It's all about implementation. So let's get started. I'm going to talk to you today about report cards, and this is going to be, if you've seen, I've already recorded at least 2 videos on report cards in the past. So this will be a review if you've seen those, and it'll be sort of a summary and a good precursor. Let's call it a prequel to those videos if you haven't seen those. So you don't need to run out and watch those 2 right now, because even if you haven't seen them, you can use this as preliminary information, and the other videos might just elaborate and be a deeper dive. So I had a conversation recently in which I was asked to clarify some points about report cards, and I realized that it doesn't hurt to reiterate the information. That's how we learn, is through repetition, but there will be a couple of new points. So even if you've seen those other videos, this won't be entirely review. There'll be some new points in here as well. So when I talk about report cards, really we're talking about some composite of performance metrics, some place to where you can go and take a look at and analyze the performance of your business. And I think that it's imperative that your business has a report card, a reflection of the performance of your business, and that business report card should be a composite of a variety of performance metrics for the business, and then individually departments should have them, and you would think of the department report card as being one and the same perhaps as the manager who runs that department's report cards. Although I've commented before, you could add a few separate performance metrics for an individual over a department. And then every individual within an organization should have a report card as well, to which we are held accountable. And so today we're going to focus primarily on your business report card, your overarching report card for your whole business. Now, if you run your departments individually like separate businesses, perhaps you have different products and you have a product manager for each of your different products, and you look at those sort of theoretically like they're individual businesses, then all of this information would apply departmentally within your business. And that's how we run our business as well. So our individual departments have report cards just like the overall business. And the report card sort of outline that I'm going to discuss with you today, the description I'm going to give. And if you want to take a look at what that looks like, then you will have to go to one of those other videos, because I'm not going to use the visual aids today. It's just going to be verbal. And but what I was saying is that the departmental and business report cards really are kind of the same thing if you run your individual departments like they were standalone businesses. So the notion of a report card is based on the idea that you need to have a place that you can go and take a look at how things are going in your business, how you're performing, and then they really highlight and get your focus on the areas that require your attention, those areas of greatest opportunity for improvement. And I've made the point before that you could think of your financial statement, your income statement, as a report card, but I think it's inadequate to use that alone, because it's really just a summary of your expenses and your revenue streams and the profit, and that's all well and good. That certainly is going to give you an indication of the performance of your business on a financial level. But where do you go from there if you are, like, first of all, does it highlight anything? Like, you have to pore over it. And what I'm suggesting with a report card is that visually it'll be more stimulating to draw your attention immediately to those areas. So we use things like conditional formatting, so the numbers are highlighted in maybe green or red, they jump off the page at you, immediately drawing your attention to a good performance or a lackluster performance. And then what you can do is you can dig in deeper from there. The typical income statement and financial statement doesn't do that. I suppose you could set it up so that it did that. But even then, when you go to drill down, you have to go somewhere else. Your income statement, you know, there's a little bit of detail in there that you can look at. But from there, you would need to go to individual expense accounts and look at maybe the general ledger and other types of things to look at where your sales are coming from and that kind of thing. And that's not found necessarily on your income statement and financial statement. So this is why you want to create a document, and we're referring to it as a report card. You can call it whatever you want. And you want to review that once per month, just habitually, like, you know, religiously. Make sure that you are always looking at this once per month and seeing where you're going. And it's typically, you know, it can be a database or a spreadsheet. And what you want to look at is what things lead to success in your business. And you may argue that, well, depending on an industry or the type of business, the size of the business, it varies from one to another. And I think there is some merit in that statement. However, generally speaking, what I'm going to share with you today should apply to almost all businesses. And you just make a little bit of tweaking here and there to make it more relevant to your business. You may have a particular performance metric that doesn't make sense outside of your industry. You know, you might measure something with some industry jargon that is unknown to people who operate in the market outside of your industry. And that may still be a very relevant performance metric for you that you want to include on your report card. So that's fine. But generally speaking, what I'm discussing today will apply to all businesses. So when we think about it, like, and all of these concepts, we don't want to become too abstract. Let's break it down, boil it down so where it's very simple, right? The KISS principle, keep it simple, stupid. And think about, well, okay, so I'm going to have this document. I'm going to review it once per month. I need to brainstorm what I want to have on there. And you can certainly use what I'm sharing with you now. I would recommend that you use what I'm sharing with you now as a starting point. And then you might want to brainstorm and ask yourself, is there something that is industry specific, very specific to my business that he failed to mention that I should put on my report card, and do that. So let's think about it. Okay, well, you can work it both ways. So I'm going to do that with him. I'm going to work it from sort of the desired state back to the current state, and then say the current state to the desired state, both directions, bidirectional. So the first way to look at it is to ask yourself whether you're profitable or not. And so on your report card, therefore, you need to have profit, your level of profitability. And you should have that, you know, not just as a dollar figure, but you probably want to have it expressed in other ways as well, such as a overall percentage of revenue or overall percentage of sales and that kind of thing. And if you were, so let's logically go through this. Let's work our way through this. If you did not have sufficient profit, and I'll just stop there and say for a moment that everything on your report card, you want to sort of compare to the history of your business. So you want to see, are you on the right path? Are you on the right trajectory? And you can also compare to your competition, but you have to compare to something. And the main thing you're going to compare to is the past. And also you can benchmark your performance against targets and goals, projections that you've set for yourself. And usually those projections are based on the past and market indicators and some insights you may have into what's going on in your local market. Should you, for whatever reason, expect to grow at the same rate that you've been growing? Is there a reason that you should grow faster than you have in the past or slower, and so on? So you set these projections and you put them out as targets, and those targets will go on your report card. And so on the report card itself, you're comparing your current performance to what your projected, or your actual performance, I should say, your actual performance to your projections or your targeted performance. And then you're also comparing to the past, say last month, year to date, last year, and so on. And so you can also graph this stuff. So the report card doesn't just need to be numbers. You can also graph this so visually it is appealing to you, and it really tells a different story. Depending on how your brain works, some people like to see a matrix or a chart, spreadsheet filled with numbers. Others get more out of a graph, and I would recommend that you have it displayed both ways on your report card. So getting back to it, we start with, well, a business, we're in business, or to be viable in business, you have to be profitable. You have to at least be break even after you compensate yourself and others in order to be quote unquote viable. So you want a sustainable, viable business, and hopefully you've designed your business in a way that it's scalable and you can grow. And the report card will help you to ascertain all three of those things. Is your business viable currently? Is it viable for how long based on its current performance? And is it sustainable? Is it scalable? And you can look at those types of things where your capacities are limited and everything. All of this stuff is related to the report card. But you start where? With profitability. Am I profitable to the degree to which I had projected or targeted? Yes or no? If the answer is no, first of all, if the answer is yes, great, congratulations. And you can probably keep doing what you're doing, right? You're on the right path. It's when the answer is no that things get a little more interesting and the report card becomes a little more useful. So then we drill down. Think of this as the path, sort of the pathway or the funnel, the levels or tiers of analysis that you're going to give your business. So the overarching one, the highest level, has to do with profitability. And if the answer is no, I'm not as profitable as I want to be, that I projected I would be, as I need to be, then where do you go from there? The next thing is, well, what is one of the most important things to ask yourself, or to that is a constituent, a component of profitability, of course, is sales and revenue. Let's call that a precursor. Before you can be profitable, you have to have revenue. You have to have sales. And most of your revenue presumably comes from sales. There are other forms of revenue as well. So I'm using them in this discussion as synonymous, but they are in fact different things. And your report card can include all forms of revenue that your business has, not just sales. But for most of you, your revenue is going to be made up of, to a very high percentage of it will be made up of sales revenue. So if you're not profitable, you're asking yourself, okay, what about my sales? Are my sales targeting, am I achieving what we projected in terms of sales? If the answer is yes, it's not like when we said, oh, you don't need to change anything, because we always said that we're not profitable. That led us to this next tier where we looked at revenue and sales. And if the answer is yes, my sales are there, then of course you have to go into your expenses. You can then conclude, well, assuming you didn't make any errors in calculation of how, your sales would lead to profit, then the answer lay within your expenses, and you're probably spending too much money, and you can explore that. And there's where your income statement and other accounting reports related to your expenses are much more interesting at that point. But let's say again that we found out we're not profitable or as profitable as we projected, and then we drilled down to sales and we found out that no, the answer is no, we're not we're not pacing. Our actual performance in sales is less than we projected and targeted. The next level we'd go down, the next tier we'd go down from sales would be to opportunities or leads. Are you getting the amount of leads and opportunities that you typically would? Or are your sales and your leads down in terms of versus historical performance or what you projected? And if the answer is no, or depending on how you asked yourself that question, if you asked it, are leads sufficient? Are opportunities abounding? Then the answer might be no there, or are they insufficient? So depending on how you phrase the question to yourself, if leads are ample and you're getting lots of leads, then that gives you a particular piece of information, like, okay, well, maybe it is our closing average, and that should be part of your synopsis, part of your composite on your report card, is to look at your closing average. So we're getting lots of leads, but they're not resulting in sales. So why is that? So we're looking at leads and asking ourselves, are we getting sufficient leads? If the answer is no, we are not getting enough leads, then maybe we don't focus on whether or not we're doing a good job of closing them. If we're not getting enough, then we can go down to the next tier. If you're not getting enough leads, then you have to look at, are you getting the right conversions in your website traffic? So let's look at that as website analytics as the next tier, the next level down of what you want to look for on your report card. And you look at things such as unique visitors, the average amount of time that they spend on your website, the bounce rate, and essentially the conversions within your website. Are they going through the path to a sale that you want to convert them into a lead? And with each of those granular details that you look at, you can ascertain if there's a problem there. So you can see what we're doing here is that we're logically trying to diagnose the problem. Where is the opportunity that we can focus our attention, focus our management strategy and our efforts as a team to get everything as we go up the tiers back to the profitability level? So if you're looking and your website conversions are really good, then that's where you stop. You start exploring in there. It's like, okay, well, we actually are getting lots of traffic on the website, but it's not converting to leads. That people are making inquiries and asking us for quotes, or actually resulting, on further levels up, conversions to the higher levels of revenue and everything. And that's where you would stop. But if you find out that the website analytics tell you that no, you're getting insufficient traffic on your website, you go down to the next level, the next tier on your report card. And that would be your efforts that are meant to drive traffic to your website, which would be some of your advertising, maybe your SEM, search engine marketing, and pay-per-click advertising, your SEO efforts, and usually your social media efforts. So you would take a look at your social media performance, and you would, all the various ways. What you're looking at here is you're considering the next level down, the next tier. I'm going to call it your social media engagement. What I'm referring to is the various ways that you would typically drive traffic to your website, and I just listed a few of them. Some of it would be advertising, and some of it would be your social media. So if you're a content marketer, so then you would look, okay, well, how many posts did we do, and are we increasing the engagement in social media? Are we getting more likes? Are we getting more followers? Are we getting more subscribers on our YouTube channel? Are we getting more people engaging with our newsletter? Are we getting more shares, more comments? These are the types of things that are on the section of your report card regarding social media and content marketing, depending on how you want to phrase that on your report card, that category. So again, just to reiterate, if you were not getting enough web traffic, then you visit the next level down. The next tier down is the category meant to drive traffic to your website, which for a content marketing business, which should be most of you, some of you are doing both traditional advertising, digital advertising, and content marketing. And so a section of your report card for content marketing or social media engagement is what I would be looking at. And those are the things those types of analytics are very much available to you, where you can determine how many likes you're getting, how many followers, how many shares, how many opens of your newsletter, all these types of things that are meant to drive conversions. And once again, if that looks really good, then you want to start to explore. You can stop there. You can start to look, okay, well, where's the problem here then? If we are getting good engagement, but it's not going to our website, you might find something as simple as you've got broken links to your website or whatever. It's very unusual that you would be driving lots of traffic to your website, or rather, you would be getting great social media engagement and you are not noticing an improvement in your website analytics, where your traffic is not growing. But if that's the case, that will say something to you, and you can explore that. And it's like, are we failing to put proper landing pages? Are we failing to put good links on here where people are just staying on our social media and not driving to our website? Again, that's where you stop. That's where you explore. That's where you analyze. Your team looks at it and you put forth hypotheses to one another and ask yourself, what are we going to do? What can we try differently? You can do some A/B testing in terms of marketing, right? You have your control and your variable, and you experiment to see what are we doing. But if the answer is no, we aren't getting a lot of engagement, our number of likes aren't going up, our number of followers on Twitter aren't going up, and our Instagram our page is dwindling, whatever it is, our efforts are not paying off, then you go to the next level, the final tier. And I would say that's the engagement in terms of, this is the base level and it's what you can do. So let me just pause for a second here and ask you, what is the base level of every solution? I'm not really asking this in the right way. What I'm trying to get at, let me just not ask it as a rhetorical question. What is really good is when things are within your control, and at the base level of your report card is something that is completely within your control. You're not analyzing to see what others are doing. Everything else at that point had to do with the actions of others, specifically your target market, your customers. Are your customers converting? Are your customers liking things? Your prospective customers, your target market, are they doing things? But at the base level of your report card, it all comes down to, what are you doing? And this has to do with content creation. Are you creating enough content? Are you creating good content, engaging content? And remember, at the level above that was the engagement in your social media, in your content marketing. Were you getting engagement and growth in those performance metrics? And if the answer was no, we went down to the base level, which is, okay, what about the content creation? And that's where you need to spend your time. Like, maybe your newsletter needs some improvement. Maybe your blogs that you write need some improvement. Whatever videos you're creating, whatever social media posts you have. And there are best practices, and we can share that in another video. By the way, if any of this stuff seems out of your realm of capability, first of all, I would challenge that. And I'd say, don't be defeatist. You can actually do this. It's not that complicated. However, I do understand that many of you are very, very busy, and it's not the best use of your time to actually organize and develop this stuff for your company. Maybe you are, I can actually evaluate that, and I can look at it from time to time, and I can strategize, and I can follow the logic of what you're saying. But putting together the report card is something that I just know I'm never getting around to. Then call us, contact us, go to bickertmanagement.com and reach out to us. Somebody in our wealth management or our sales team will be able to discuss with you and put together a customized report card for you. And you'll have all of this stuff at your fingertips already. And if you need extra training on that, and if you need a little bit of guidance, then we can do that. And also, if you're like, well, I'm not as disciplined as I probably should be, and I don't know when I review this stuff. Like, maybe you're a smaller business and you don't have a management team surrounding you that you can go through this stuff with, then you should really check out our VIPs group. And again, go to bickertmanagement.com, and it's really, I think it's less than $130 a month or something like that. You can join our VIPs group, And that gives you an opportunity to get together with other entrepreneurs where this is exactly what we do. We hold you accountable, we hold one another accountable, and there's other people, like-minded entrepreneurs who are facing the same challenges in business and in the market that you are. And there's outside the box thinking and people from a different industry. There's no conflict of interest. We make sure that nobody's in the same VIPs group with somebody with whom they're competing. So people from different industries, but we all have the same challenges. And so let's say on the report card, you found that you were stuck on your social media engagement. Somebody else who's probably faced that problem is maybe in your group and can say to you, well, here's what we did. And they can share their strategy with you, and you can apply that. Is a great thing. So, a lot of this stuff you can do yourself, but the reason my business exists is because realistically, you don't do everything yourself, and you do want to reach out to assistance and in the business community. So reach out to us for that. So getting back to that base level, which is all within your control, this is another area that you can get us to help you with. If you need somebody to help you to improve the quality of the content you create for your social media strategy, for your content creation, whether it's videos, blogs, or social media posts, you need someone to schedule and manage all that. We do that. Again, it's on bickertmanagement.com. You don't even need to talk to anybody. You can go in and you can look at what's included and everything, and you can just right there swipe the credit card, and automatically we will start doing that for you. So we have all of these services available for you. But let's assume you can do it on your own. Then that's what you're going to do at this base level of the report card, is you're going to start looking at, well, how many, my newsletter wasn't opened by most of the people. I wonder why that is. And you can look to the technical aspects of your email campaigns. And do you have you got, there's a couple of, I won't get technical with you right now. And frankly, the terms are escaping me, but there are a couple of things you need to do behind the scenes to make sure that browsers and email clients aren't recognizing your email campaigns as spam and ending up in spam boxes. But that would be an indicator. If you're sending out newsletters to people who subscribed and they're not opening them, one of the things it may be that you've just technically not set it up correctly. We can help you with that as well, of course. Another example might be that you're looking and you're having very few views or very few people from one month to another who are liking you on Facebook or following you on Instagram or whatever the social media is. And you have to ask yourself, okay, well, is my content needing a little bit of sprucing up in some way? Is it not useful to my target market? And those are questions, again, it's within your control to change these things and A/B test them and see what's working. Reach out to your target market, ask them what they want. Try to give some insight, or gain some insight rather, into your market and your target market, and see what it is that they need and solve those problems for them. Content marketing is all about giving value with the law of reciprocity in mind, that by giving value to the community, to your target market, that they will eventually reach out to you. You'll form that relationship of trust. They'll reach out to you and probably engage your services. So that was sort of a top-down look, and the opposite is another way. We won't go through every step necessarily again, but you get the idea. On a report card, you can start the other way. Whichever way your brain likes to work, I like to work it back from what I referred to earlier as the desired state of I'm achieving my targets of profitability. And if I'm not, I work it down. The other way you can do it is you can just start at the base level, especially if you're a startup company. I think this is really important if you are new in business, is that maybe you want to start at the base level. It's like, okay, where do I start? Well, you start with the things that are fully within your control, which is the amount of effort you put into content creation. So your newsletter and all that kind of stuff, and build it up from there. Once you've worked on that and you've got good processes in place for making sure that the content is being created very consistently and it's being posted and managed correctly, because you don't want to be there is a bit of an art to how you post things, and you're not posting the same stuff all the time. And certainly you don't want to have just a giant infomercial constantly where you're just asking people for business constantly, that would be, I would say, a bit of a turnoff for a lot of the people who may otherwise follow you. Instead, you mix it up with some things that are entertaining, some things that are informative. Maybe you can do some polling and ask some questions. That's shown to be very effective within the context of social media. So that's where you start, and then you work your way up from there and start to make sure that you're measuring and don't look for so many metrics that it gets confusing for you. Start with the basic level. Am I growing in terms of the number of likes? Maybe that's the most important thing to you, that you're growing your Facebook, that you're going to really double down your efforts on growing Facebook. Or it might be that you have a video strategy and you're really interested in YouTube. Now, that's where businesses do vary from one to another. And also your skill set varies. So if you're not going to hire BMI or another company to help you with any of these things, then you're going to have to look at what are you the most accomplished in, where do your strengths lay, and that's what you're going to spend your time on. And so you go up to that next level. Is my social media engagement there? And if it is, then, and I'm still not as profitable as I want to be, you go up to that next level and you're asking yourself, are my website analytics as good as they should be? Are they going in the right direction? Remember the graph. Is the trajectory going in the right direction? Are we pacing to get better? Can we see, there is light at the end of this tunnel. There is a pot of gold at the end of this rainbow. When you're new in business, it takes time. And it may be starting from the top down for a new company is a little discouraging, because it may be unrealistic that you're going to be profitable out of the gates at any time soon. There's some estimates that it can take upwards of 5 years for some types of businesses to be profitable. And you have to ask yourself, what are you expecting? What is your business plan? And what sort of capital do you have in place, operating capital, to be able to keep you and sustain you while you're waiting for things? Because you might be doing a great job. If you're doing a great job and you're creating all this content and things are going in the right direction, your social media engagement is getting up, your website analytics are all in the right direction, but you're out of cash. And now you've got to close up shop and go and do something else. That would be so disappointing. So make sure that your business plan allows for sufficient capital to sustain you, or you have to change your strategy and your projections. And this is all really important part of the planning if you're a newer business. Maybe many of the viewers watching this have been in business a very long time, and you have some months where you're profitable, some where you're not, some that you're more profitable than that you're pacing ahead of your targets and your projections, some years that you're behind. And the report card scenario, working it downward as I described, will be invaluable to you in trying to ascertain what the problems are, where the opportunities are for improvement. If you're new to business, I think you want to start at the bottom and grow your way up, looking at those things. And a word on that, when it comes to the report cards, when you watch those other videos, you'll hear me talk about weighting the various categories of what adds up, because it's all about a number in the end. Think of when you went to school and maybe you wanted to get an A, and what did it take to get an A? Well, I had to be in the 90s or whatever. Okay, so if your report card, you're trying to get anything above a 90 on your report card is satisfactory to you, then all of the different tiers that we talked about, all of those categories of performance metrics, all of those have an individual score for that category. And then you weight those categories according to how important they are for your business and your unique place and time in your business and your strategy and your business plan of how you're projecting. If you're brand new, it is unrealistic to start with, we're going to be profitable right out of the gates. I mean, there are very few businesses that are. In fact, some of the biggest businesses in the world right now started without any sort of profit model even built in. They didn't have a profit model in their business. It was all about, they were trying to create network effects and create a market. They were trying to get a lot of users so that they could create a profit model. And maybe that is what you're doing as well. That's fine too. You have to look at your strategy. But if you're new, start at the bottom and work your way up. Make sure you're getting great performance on the things that are within your control, which is the content marketing and the content creation is what I'm trying to say. And then work your way up. Okay, that's really good. And am I getting the engagement I want? If not, why not? And do I need a little assistance there? And if I am, okay, am I getting the website traffic and on my website analytics? How long people are staying? Are they bouncing? Are they filling out the forms? Do some heat mapping and A/B testing on your website and analyze the layout. And maybe it's a little bit confusing. Maybe you've got some technical issues in there. But if it's all working, it's like, okay, great, I'm doing the right things. And that can be very encouraging for you as a new business owner, as a new manager of a business. Then you can justify it. Hey, I'm going to, as I said earlier, reach the pot of gold at the end of this rainbow because everything's going in the right directions. Now, all that website traffic, is it converting to leads? Are my number of leads going up? And if they are, then great. And then of course you're focused on your closing average and the conversion of those leads into sales and revenue. And then you can focus on your expense control and streamlining things to make sure that all results in profit. There's the summary of the whole concept of how the report card works. And I just wanted to point out some of those differences to you about whether you're new in business and making sure that you have planned out for where to spend your time instead of jumping to the top right away, where to spend your time to make sure things logically will go in that direction. And I just mentioned earlier a word about advertising. Of course, most businesses or a lot of businesses, and certainly not all businesses, spend some money on advertising. And if you have that as part of your plan to do, then you want to make sure you're not wasting that money. So the report card is a good place to go and find out whether or not your advertising is working or not. So the report card can give you feedback as to whether or not the money you're spending is actually generating web traffic. Let me give you an example of that. So let's say you're doing your content marketing and you're looking and you're getting lots of referrals to your website, your traffic. When you measure on your report card and you're looking at your analytics, and your report card says, yes, we're getting ample web traffic, and a lot of it is coming from referrals from our social media pages, and very few of it, of that traffic, or very little of it rather, is coming from my Google AdWords, then, well, that's a bad example because I shouldn't get too technical here, but most of you, I think, understand you pay per click advertising. You only pay when they click and they do end up on your website. So it would be a little deeper than that, than just website traffic. But you might find that you're getting very few conversions beyond being a visitor to your website from your Google AdWords or your SEM, whatever it may be, your Facebook advertising, your LinkedIn advertising, whatever other kind of advertising you're doing that you're paying for. It's really imperative that you see that you're getting the performance and those are converting to leads. If not, you need to change your strategy right there. And you don't want to just keep throwing more money at a problem. Okay, so if you're not getting the performance that you want, you can double down your efforts on something that is less costly before you start just throwing more and more money at something. It may be that you're in an industry that you have competitors who are advertising a lot, and I hope you plan for that if that's the case, because it's very risky to keep upping the amount that you push in on advertising unless it's working and you can show and demonstrate that it's working. If it is, by all means, and not only I'm saying it as if it's one giant thing, but I've given you several sources as examples, and there's many, many more than that you can advertise on. You want to compare them and see what is your cost per lead on these things. All of this stuff can go into your report card. Now, we've covered a lot today, and I don't want you to think that you have to understand all of this from the get-go. Again, check us out for our VIPs group if you'd like some guidance on this. Check us out, have us assist you by developing a report card and then holding you accountable along with the other peers. The VIP stands for Vitality Index, which is another way of saying report card. Vitality Index Peer Support, VIPs group. So that's what the VIPs group is all about, and we can help you with that. So don't get too intimidated, but you can do a lot of this stuff on your own. If you know that you need a little support with your discipline, We understand that. That's why we exist. I think that's where we should leave it for today. And please visit those other ones and revisit this one. Watch this from time to time so that you will bolster your learning and your retention of this material. And there will always be something. I hope you jotted down a note or two, or rewatch this video again today or next month and watch some of those others. We'll create a little bit of a playlist on just report card information, but this is really critical stuff. And the other thing is that you have to be measuring this stuff. So as I was going through this, if you're like, well, I have no idea what my website traffic is. I have no idea how many people are liking me on Facebook, how many are following me, and those are two different things. I have no idea how often my newsletters are being opened and what the bounce rate is on my website. If these types of things are not being measured within your organization, then we need to talk as well. You've got to start doing that. And that's one of the things that the report card will help you to do, is to look at, especially if you follow this guideline that I'm giving you, is to look at what things you are measuring and what you're not. It's insufficient. It's inadequate to just be relying on your income statement, your balance sheet. This is not enough information. You have to drill down a little bit further. And again, what I like to remind you is, if you're not doing it and your competition is, they're going to eat your lunch. You're going to suffer. And maybe you're like, well, no, I'm doing quite well in business. That's great. But don't assume that that's going to be sustainable. There are new people entering the market. The market is changing. We've heard of great, big, successful businesses going out of business in a relatively short period of time. And you don't want to leave it to chance. You don't want to assume that the way you've always done things will be sufficient for the future. So if any of this resonates with you and you're like, I would hate to think of a competitor doing all that stuff and I'm not, then I really highly recommend that you do this. Okay, so that is where we'll leave it today. I hope you got something out of this. Share some comments. I want us all to learn from one another. Perpetual refinement.